Hello and welcome to another session of Cyber Talk. And today I have the honor and pleasure to have with us Mr. Sinan Eraydin, the Executive Director of SiberZincir from Turkey. Hello, Mr. Eraydin, and thank you very much for accepting my invitation and joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
My true pleasure. It will be a discussion of both of us about workforce development in the post-COVID world. And I'm really looking forward to hear your insight about this, how COVID-19 changed this specific area of workforce and workforce development. So once again, thank you very much, Mr. Eraydin, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tal. It's a pleasure to be here. So maybe a little bit of background about myself would be nice. So I have a Bachelor of Science in Software Engineering. I'm not writing any code anymore, but it's how I started. But I decided to mix things, and I decided to have a master's degree in international relations. I studied Iran and how cyber operations affected international politics with this Stuxnet case. And then I had a second master's in the United States, the George Washington University in strategic cyber operations. And now currently I'm having a PhD in public policy with a specialization in national security. And in the meantime, I'm trying to run two companies. I'm currently based in Washington, D.C. So that's why we have a time zone difference with you planning this event. And I'm trying to find a hybrid way of thinking regarding cyber and our policies. So that's the point where I would like to start. So again, being an engineer, I don't believe our problems in cyber are engineering problems. It's mostly policy problems. And people in charge somehow do not understand what's going on, and they feel like they have the right to excuse themselves from understanding what's happening. They don't have that kind of a luxury, not today. Again, with COVID, things changed. The funny thing is, we already had all the technology. We didn't have to invent new things. We just needed to change, move out of our comfort zones. So that became some kind of a catalyst for the change. And these old school CEOs were pushed to move and change and adapt. I can understand the risk factors. Nobody wants to take unnecessary risks, but this pandemic became an opportunity for change. So two things happened, to put simply. Remote work became a reality, and then people stuck at homes needed to take care of their needs through online means, services, retail, social media, whatever you call it. The users become more active on the cyberspace. So that generated income for companies who are in the internet. So that again gave an incentive for companies to change their business models, which brought digitalization much faster than anticipated. Not that we didn't have the technology again, but the policies were lagging behind technology. So that brought us to where we are now. All that money being made is at jeopardy because of cybersecurity. And more than the money, actually, the continuity of business, the reputation, also, the privacy of the users, all of them needs to be taken into consideration when making investments. And one of the most important investments is workforce development. So companies need to educate their employees, or ask their human resources departments to look for certain certificates or background in the new hires. That also affects the salaries and how you position your employees in the company. But workforce development changed as a chain reaction from the change in the industry, like in every sector. So again, going back to the first thing I said, this is not an engineering problem, this is a policy problem. And the top guys in companies are learning it the hard way. Having said that, there are certain easy ways to make up for what they were missing, because it was already there. One of these nice environments that we have is online learning. And we were talking before the recording started. You can do events without paying a penny. These Zoom events, online events, whatever you call it. And it's very similar to changing your main education platform from a university to an online platform. That's a possibility, and we began to see it. Sometimes you need to take a 6-hour course to learn something and get a certificate for that. That makes a huge difference. You don't have to travel, you don't have to spend tons of money, and it's standardized. It's not like you are getting something different from a different instructor, especially in the asynchronous training models. So this was the first step that I can feel that we are taking. There will be many more, and I will talk about that a little more in the coming minutes. But the asynchronous platforms are and will be very important, taking care of some of the basics, theoretical stuff. Obviously, having a professor in the same room and having a nice chat is important, but also that means you need to allocate your time and go to a certain place to do that. Or even if it's an online course, you need to be there at a certain period of time, and you cannot take breaks. You cannot work at the same time. But that's also a possibility. And I'm coming to a very simple but very important topic. With all that stuff going on, what matters to us as cybersecurity practitioners is training the rest of the workforce in some really basic, very important topics. I call it cyber hygiene. That's something even the secretary of a really small firm needs to know, all the way up to the owners or the CEOs. Nobody's exempt from that kind of training. They should be held responsible for knowing the basics. If we do not change the mindset, we cannot keep up with the cybersecurity challenges as the people in the field. First things first, everybody needs to know how to read and write. It's something like that. And and again, like a I don't know, 55-year-old secretary that has worked her whole life, taking care of simple stuff in the office, might think she's not up to the task. That's wrong. We need to find ways, make it simple, understandable, easy for her to understand, so we can have a 100% reach to all of the employees of a company. That's not only for teaching them. Teaching is a buzzword here maybe, but the most important thing is creating awareness. Lack of knowledge is not always the reason for lack of awareness. Sometimes people know certain things, but that doesn't mean they care about that. In order for them to care about certain things, your boss needs to care about that too, or your coworkers, or your friends, whatever you call it, like your family members. People around you needs to care about certain things for you to care about that. That's how it works in real life, especially in basic training. So cyber hygiene needs to be accessible by everybody, these trainings, and easy to understand. As a result of this kind of a training campaign, I believe companies, there are certain research about that, would reduce their general risk and improve their cybersecurity posture at least by 30 or maybe 40%. So that cyber hygiene training, again, is not only making up for the missing knowledge, but it also creates some kind of accountability for people to understand. When you get that training, you do not have an excuse to say, I don't know, I didn't know. You know it now, and we know that you know it because you have a certification saying that you have that training. That also creates some kind of discipline within the ranks of companies. These are, I know I'm getting into the psychology of things, but it's really important if we want to have a better cybersecurity in our firms and in our society, because people are the first vulnerability in any system. And again, knowledge is not the only problem. It's also the psychology of the people. Because sometimes you know the right thing, you don't care about that. Or alternatively, you are too lazy to do the right thing. So somebody needs to tell you that if you mess this thing up, we will come back and you will be responsible for this huge attack or loss. Then believe me, people understand. I'm sorry. People understand what's at risk because you teach them. And also, this kind of a hardening, I call it a hardening, if communicated in the right tone, and this is really important by the corporate communication departments, that a company is having this kind of training for all of its employees. That definitely creates some kind of a passive deterrence, because I will get to that in the following parts of this conversation, but hackers are not stupid. They are really rational actors. And I know how a hacker thinks. Let's say that. And hackers do their research, do their surveys, do their reconnaissance. And eventually, if you leave little breadcrumbs saying that this organization received cyber hygiene training to all of its members, all of its employees, that tells me 30 to 40% of my possibilities are gone. And if I can penetrate the system, the depth I can reach is limited. So in a feasibility analysis, that gives me, this is not a good target. This is a hardened target. So I should look for some others. It's like, the water finding its path, the least resistance. You do that unless you have a very specific political or emotional reason to attack a place. But mostly it's financial. So I want to get the easiest targets, the low-hanging fruit as a hacker, and then get as much as I can get. So the passive deterrence piece is often disregarded, but it's really important. The key point, the catch there is that you should never say, we won't be hacked. We are hack proof. Do not say that, even if you are having a cyber hygiene training, because that triggers hackers. It pushes buttons and makes them emotional and try to prove themselves that they can hack you. Even though it's not feasible, you can attract some unnecessary attention there. There's a really fine line between saying that you have proper training and that's it, and then you don't want to push it too much. So furthermore, this cyber hygiene training stuff is also required for more technical people, as well as stakeholders, owners, high-level managers, before taking more serious training. So this is the baseline. You need to onboard everybody in a company, because if they don't, the people in the lower ranks will not respect it. That might sound like a funny thing to ask from a CEO to take a cyber hygiene course, but believe me, from experience, I'm talking from experience. Even if they're engineers, even if they think IT, they don't know everything.
Sinan, it reminds me that, sorry for interrupting you.
Sure.
There is a meme with quotation of Peter Drucker, I think. Yeah, Peter Drucker, who said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And that's exactly what you said. We can have the best policy, as you said at the beginning. We can have the best strategy or the best papers or guidelines, but the culture, and as you mentioned, the cyber hygiene is much more stronger than the strategy or policy. And if the manager, the CEO, will not follow accordingly, as you mentioned, what will do the lower level? So the importance of cyber hygiene as part of cyber organizational culture, definitely.
Yes. So that's mostly what I want to talk about cyber hygiene. So I have a second part I would like to also talk about. So this cyber hygiene, as you can understand, is totally non-technical, very basic, but very important in maintaining a strong cyber posture. You cannot have a good cyber posture without a general understanding of cyber hygiene with all of your employees. That's a requirement. That's in the bottom part of the risk framework. The second bit, and I will not get into all the pieces of cyber risk management because we are trying to talk about the workforce development here. But the second bit is fully technical, and that's for cybersecurity practitioners. So I'm moving from cyber hygiene to cyber range bit. So I'm sure you have heard of cyber ranges. It's where we can conduct our real-time or asynchronous technical cyber training programs, have simulations, tests, competitions, and also do analysis on certain software without jeopardizing a regular network. So it's an isolated cloud environment, which is like a computer lab specifically designed for dangerous material in cyberspace. Let's call it like that. It's like a biohazard lab with special precautions, but for cyber. So that's, I keep seeing different brands, different companies, different organizations building their own cyber ranges. Actually, I'm doing the same thing in Turkey as well. So that's really important. We need to have there's an endless need, demand for cyber ranges, and there will be more in the future, because again, as I said, the works, the demand for qualified cyber operators is growing, and it's not only the software engineers that we need. We need people who can actually do stuff that matters. I'm not talking about having a full engineering degree, going to school for 4 years, and then doing a master's for 2 more years. I'm not talking about that. We need to have people who can be trained quickly and then retrained according to the developing needs. And it needs to be online. We cannot ask for people to, which was the case before. People actually took the opportunity to go to the United States or Europe or wherever to have a boot camp training, and and then that 5-day event would be followed by a 2-day weekend to go outside see. That was nice. People liked it, but it costed a lot, and they needed to move. And in COVID times, that's not something desirable. So it's going to be online. However, we cannot compromise on the quality of the training. So we need to have cyber ranges that are qualified to enable our instructors and to deploy scenarios, use the tools to train cyber operators. And I will come to a really important topic, which I have been talking a lot lately. People keep saying cybersecurity because that's how it started, the term. I don't like it. I think cyber operations is more, it's a better term, because when you say security, you're on the defensive side. But cybersecurity, defensive cyber operations, offensive cyber operations, and cyber intelligence are 4 pillars of the cyberspace, I guess. So we need to start talking about offensive cyber operations and cyber intelligence as a part of our regular curriculums. That's important. Again, the mindset needs to change, because people are feeling, isn't that a bit too much for the regular people? Isn't that too much for a teenager to learn? I don't think so, because they need to learn the real stuff. Otherwise, they will not be able to defend. People think like it should be exclusive to government agencies to learn how to hack. That's wrong. That's totally wrong, because that's not the reality. People are learning how to hack, and people have been learning how to hack, for decades now, through illegal means and in the underground, in the hacking culture, through these collectives or master and apprentice kind of relationships. People have been learning who have not ever touched anything about the government agencies in their lives, been learning how to hack. And these people end up being criminals because it's underground. We need to create an environment where people can learn how to hack and use that knowledge for good purposes. However, if the only way to learn hacking is illegal, guess what? The follow-ups will be also illegal. We need to create an environment where kids or young people or anyone actually can hack without breaking any laws, in a safe and isolated space with instructors who are ethically mature, let's say, and find the talent we are looking, and also having that perspective of an attacker. They will be the best defenders if you want them to be. I mean, there is no other way around that. If a person doesn't know how to attack, their knowledge of defending is only theoretical, and most of the time that doesn't really work. I mean, as a hacker, the worst thing that you would expect is to have another hacker standing on the other side of the street defending. So for that, we need to have offensive cyber operations training. And for that to happen, we need to deploy malware. We need to use offensive methods, which are really dangerous if it's not contained. And cyber ranges are the key to that. We need to have cyber ranges. We need to have instructors. We need to have tools, techniques, procedures available to people. Keep it on the record, and make it available to whoever wants to learn. So that's really important, and I believe the government agencies will also benefit from the recruitment pool if they do not push people too hard. That's also a key as well. I mean, not every hacker wants to work for the government, obviously, but and again, like, if you have that kind of a visibility, who's learning what, doing what, and how successful they are, maybe you can make an offer. So, but also, we need to have competitions. We need to have we need to have gamification as a part of that training. So, again, this workforce we are talking about starts in the teenager years. Some of the best teams in the United States that I have seen in competitions are not 25, 30 years old. They are high school students, and official competitions here. Mostly the winners are coming from high schools. So we need to expand this network. And also, I have a little problem with universities. I hope they can adapt. But I believe private companies who have actual practitioners, but not professors who have been sitting in their ivory towers for years and years, talking about stuff, but never have done the real thing in their lives. It's not the way to go. Either the universities will adapt to this kind of a mindset, or private companies will. I mean, it's already been so with, I won't say their names, but I'm sure people listening to us can imagine at least 5 brands that have taken away this field from the universities. But I believe in the future, especially as the globalization goes on, and online training capabilities are available for everybody around the world. Think about it. I have a Turkish company, but I plan on providing English courses online to anyone in the world. And then guess what? It will be competitive price-wise. We will not be limiting ourselves, and anyone in the world can benefit from that. So you don't have to have an application. You don't have to have reference letters to get to a university. And the best part is, what I understand from the private industry's response to online learning, human resources departments used to care a lot about the diploma and which university's letterhead is on that diploma. Currently, I believe that understanding is eroding because when the university started doing online learning programs, I guess everybody realized, okay, so you do online learning, the other company does the online learning. What's the difference? You used to have a nice fancy, building and a name on it, but who's teaching it better? If, the human resources departments understand what matters is not the brand that, tells you this guy has a certificate or a diploma. Instead, the skills that they learn, I guess the education sector will undergo certain changes, especially in our field, in cybersecurity, cyber operations. Because it's really easy to check if a guy knows the thing that he claims he knows. Again, these cyber ranges will be used for human resources departments to check if a candidate is capable in doing what he tells you that he can do. Because we can have exams, we can have tests, we can have competitions, grades, in the cyber range for whatever topic you want to have, all these scenarios. So it won't be like, I have a diploma and that's it, I don't know how to do it. The human resources head of human resources will just see the report, the next day. So again, online learning, cyber ranges, offensive cyber operations. These are going to be the next thing in our future, I believe.
And you think that it's due to the COVID-19, all those changes?
So, like, as you know, a little butterfly, swinging its wings creates a storm in the ocean.
Yeah.
It's not about butterfly. It's the whole world going through a pandemic, and millions of people died. So it took millions of people to die to change our perspective to certain things. But it has cascading effects. It created a chain reaction and cultural norms, I guess. But no matter what, to be honest, even with COVID or not, we would be going towards something like this. Just not as fast as this, probably, or probably people will have to learn by experiencing other catastrophes in the cyberspace. This might have smoothened the transition, the COVID stuff, because companies allocating money for online or cyber-related activities, the budgets will be more open to receiving or like paying for cyber range activities or training. What say you? I mean, so the culture, the corporate culture will be more accepting what I'm talking about right now. Otherwise, it will take another 10 years probably.
It's remind me that I saw, I think it was during the first wave, or the peak of the first wave of the COVID-19, March 2020. I think it was a server of Barracuda Networks, and it stuck in my mind the number. I think it was 56% of the surveyed organization mentioned a year and a half ago that even after the pandemic will ease, they will still hold and remain with the remote working model, which means it was not now that we are almost 2 years after that and we have this perspective. Even 3 months after the beginning of the pandemic, March 2020, more than half of the surveyed company mentioned that, yes, we will keep on with this remote working model. So, well, it's emphasized what you just say about the need for change and the understanding to infiltrate. into modern organization about the need for changes and changes also in how we empower and how we instruct our workforce. And do you see those changes now in the ground? Do you see, the seeds of such changes?
So what I see, especially in large organizations, is that they are building their own, how should I say, academies inside, and trying to centralize and keep it under control about what the human resources will be pushing, and because that's not easy, asking your employees to go under training. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. No, I mean, it's a pain in the back, and but they learn that they need to do that, and they need to do it in a way that they can not only keep up with their competitors, but avoid unnecessary risks. That became a part of the risk management, not only efficiency. So making more money is good, but risks, that's a whole different department. So that kind of working together. So yes, I believe the seeds are there. And structurally, they are taking. I mean, most of these companies that I know of are expanding their internal learning structures.
And you mentioned corporate and enterprises, and I'm interested to know what you think about SMBs. What is the situation there? Because we know that, well, the SMBs are the fundamentals and the majority of every given economic.
Yeah, they cannot have their own academies inside. I mean, if you are a mom and pop shop, I mean, if you are a small or medium enterprise level, it's not going to be like that. You will need to procure these services with subscription or whatever, and I believe companies like mine are in a good position to offer a solution without them trying to invest like crazy amounts of money for a very small amount of people to be trained. So again, there are solutions. The important part is these SMEs, owners or managers, accepting the reality and putting up the budget for this kind of a change in their organization.
Well, you've mentioned cyber hygiene and the need to understand and to recalculate our path, route. And I wonder what from your perspective is the situation with SEOs or the C-level. Well, once again, not only in corporates, but SMB, do you think that they change the route of understanding the importance of cybersecurity, the importance of education and awareness and empowerment in cybersecurity after and as a consequence of the COVID-19? Do they understand the change and the need for change?
So I believe, most people do not learn from the mistakes of others. So until they experience it themselves, they feel like they are invulnerable or they don't care. But I believe, there are two interesting mechanics, which one of them is cyber attacks are really hot topics, and the news outlets love it. They sometimes use it to get more clicks or more views because I don't like it, but fear mongering makes money, and I never try to. There's a term we use it, securitize. I don't want to securitize things. I don't want to say, if you don't do this, there will be a catastrophe waiting for you the next day. That's cheap propaganda. But without me or cybersecurity companies doing that, the media is already doing it. And every morning, a CEO is having his coffee and reading about the news, and there's something that bothers him with the possibility that his company's name can be on the newspaper the next day. So that's a constant pinging of a person's mind. That's happening already. And then the second part is this is different in different countries, different cultures, but I believe we are talking about risks, and risk management has been handled by insurance companies for a very long time. This is not about workforce development. I know we are straying a little bit off the topic, but I believe insurance companies will be, and they are and will be, a driving force and managing cyber risks. Like any other risks, insurance companies live to manage risks. So a part of the strategy to manage any risk is sharing it. And also insurance companies, generally speaking, to be more profitable, help their clients lower their risks, not as much as they lower the premiums, but and the difference is definitely a profit. So an insurance company doing a cybersecurity policy for any customer must be looking for cyber hygiene training in their customers. If they have it, their risks are definitely lower. And at the end of the day, there's a calculus there. And if you are getting paid a certain amount of dollars for a certain amount of risk, and you are covering certain risks, if that number goes down, your profits go up as an insurance company. So that could be a driving force for explaining, because I do not have the patience to explain everybody how this should work and how they should buy it, that kind of a training. But the whole networks of insurance companies, they have people working to explain why their clients do certain things and why they should not do certain things. So eventually, I believe cybersecurity companies will be teaming up with insurance companies to provide bundled solutions to cybersecurity policies sold by insurance companies. For example, think about a huge insurance company doing a cybersecurity policy for a SME. Wouldn't they want to have their customers to have a cyber hygiene training? Even they can even gift it. The cost of these training programs are not that much. Even with a gift, they are lowering the risk ratio of their customers. So they make more money than they pay for a wholesale online training program. That's possible. That's a possibility.
But here again, I think, yeah, and you are totally right that the importance of security industry or insurance industry, pardon, in raising the awareness and the need for cyber insurance policy and raising the knowledge in cyber hygiene and cyber protection. But I think that here again, also in the your example of the insurance industry, insurance market, it's the fundamental issue of knowledge and awareness, also for those the insurer and the insurance agency, an insurance company. And I'll give you one example. I wrote an academic paper about, and I covered the cyber insurance market in Israel. And I realized that yes, half of the Israeli insurance companies do provide sub-insurance policy. But I didn't want to analyze only the insurance sub-insurance companies. I wanted to have the whole picture, and then I wanted to examine what's the situation in the sub-insurance agencies. And after a long analysis, I realized that only fractions of percents of insurance agencies, at least in Israel, do provide cyber insurance policy. And this case, and I asked them, well, those that cooperated and provided detail, and I said, listen, we have no knowledge about it. And you know, it's lack of knowledge from both sides. The insurance agents have no knowledge. They do not want to offer. And if they do not want to offer, how can they offer you such a sub-insurance policy?
So,
and on the other hand, even if potential SMB will ask for sub-insurance policy from his agent, probably the agent will know nothing what to offer him. Probably
now the agent doesn't need to know, because there are certain platforms which are checking target systems and giving them grades, you know, like 85 out of 100 is a good one, or like think about like, or there are other different grading scales. We are working with one of these companies. They can tell how vulnerable your system is. So that vulnerability can be put in numbers, and agents don't need to try to understand it. You cannot just do it like you can't do it with one person. That's not something we should be expecting from insurance companies. That's why I'm saying, if insurance companies will be doing cybersecurity policies, they need to have cybersecurity companies by their side, using their tools, their knowledge. You cannot expect a junior insurance policy guy know anything about cyber. So, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. But there's a lot of money in that cyber insurance policy business, because we are seeing lots of businesses lose tons of money because of ransomware or other stuff. And eventually, if the right routines can be found, and I'm pretty sure people will follow the money. And then eventually, this will be something that we will be talking about a lot. If not today, it will be tomorrow or the other day.
One last question, with your permission, Sinan. You start our discussion with emphasizing the importance of policy. And you say it's not only technology, it's policy. And since I teach Mekamba Cube, which, you know, from 1991, and you mentioned the information security measures of technology technology policing procedures, and the last one is education. I waited for for you to mention the education, and then of course from the importance of policy, you emphasize the importance of education and awareness and empowerment. And I wanted to ask you, after you mentioned those three layers, as mentioned in Mekamba Cube, technology, policy, and education, what is the most important feature or to tackle cyber attack? Whether it's the technology, the policy, or the education?
So I believe I guess there are two important things that I think of, not one. I'm sorry for not giving you a one word answer. but I believe there are two important things that we need to do. First, we need to be open to new ideas. That's a general thing that I'm saying. The concept of being open-minded. Be open-minded. Otherwise, you cannot be good at cyber. That's a given. However, there's another really important thing. And then this also changes from culture to culture. So every group of people will have their own understanding of what I'm going to say. We need to have certain ethics in play. It cannot be for like do whatever you want to whoever you want, however you want. That doesn't work. We need to, because we cannot have a sustainable operation going on like that. It also should involve governments. And although cyberspace mostly belongs to private sector, and governments are not generally the owners of everything in cyberspace. Maybe there can be exceptions like North Korea, but they don't have much of a cyberspace. So we need to have government and private sector get together and share common moral values. That's really important. I mean, people can say like, I don't care about morality or ethics. No, we should. If we don't, this will get out of our hands.
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, it was, as I thought, it was a very interesting discussion, conversation about workforce development in the post-COVID world. And what I took from your conversation and the insight is the importance of policy in tackle cyber operations. The need to see it not only as a security about the cyber operations, the importance of cyber rangers, the importance of education, and cyber hygiene. Cyber hygiene is part of cyber education. The importance of cyber hygiene and cyber education to all the levels. It can start with the entry-level and low-hanging fruits, and it can and must include also the C-level. And the fact that, as you mentioned, it should be two different types of education. It should be the, let's call it the general education, perhaps for those non-tech, tech savvy.
Yeah, we need to demystify cyber. That's because you don't have to be technical to learn about cyber.
Indeed.
That's
because I said that cyber is like an umbrella that we need to confine everything and everyone. And I totally agree with you that it's not necessarily cyber. It is digital life. And you don't need to be part of this cyberspace in order to be vulnerable. Because if we use social networks and Facebook, and we accept Facebook invitation and Facebook Messenger proposals and WhatsApp and text messages and emails,
you just need to accept that we live in the cyberspace, especially in the corporate world. I mean, no corporation or no corporate employee is capable of just staying off the grid. That's not possible.
Indeed, we cannot, leave this behind and said, okay, I don't want to be part of this a huge party of cyberspace. Because once again, as long as we have, and we do have access and usage with WhatsApp and social networks and emails and mobile phones, we are part of the cyberspace and we are part of digital life, and we need cyber education and cyber awareness and cyber hygiene, even not from the not for only for the business purpose or corporate purpose or the professional purpose, but also for our private purposes, because nowadays there is no barrier and there is no curtain that divide between us, the private entity, and our professional entity, because nowadays we use all those tech means like cellular phones to handle our private life and professional life as well. So all these emphasize the importance of cybersecurity education and cybersecurity awareness and cyber hygiene as part of it, and cyber training. And once again, thank you very much, Mr. Sinan Eraydin, founder and CEO of SiberZincir, pardon, for this very interesting conversation and insights that I took from it. Thank you very much. It was
Thank you, Tal. Thank you. It was my pleasure. Looking forward to do it again.
my true pleasure. My true pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.